Chapter 11, The Dueling Club. Harry woke up on Sunday morning to find the dormitory blazing with winter sunlight and his arm reboned but very stiff. He sat up quickly and looked over at Colin's bed, but it had been blocked from view by the high curtains Harry had changed behind yesterday. Seeing that he was awake, and Poofrey came bustling over with a breakfast tray and then bending and stretching his arms and fingers. "All in order," she said as he clumsily fed himself porridge left-handed. "When you've finished eating, you may leave." Harry dressed as quickly as he could and hurried off to tell to the Gryffindor Tower, desperate to tell Ron and Hermione about Colin and Dobby, but they weren't there. Harry left to look for them, wondering where they had got to, and feeling slightly hurt because that they weren't interested in whether he had his bones back or not. As Harry passed the library, Percy Weasley strode out of it, looking in far better spirits than last time they had met. "Oh, hello, Harry," he said. "Excellent flying yesterday. Really excellent." Gryffindor had just taken the lead for the House Cup. "You've earned 50 points. You haven't seen Ron or Hermione, have you?" said Harry. "No, I haven't," his mouth feeding. "I just hope one's not in another girl's toilet." Harry forced a laugh, watching Percy out of sight, and then headed straight for Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. He couldn't see why Ron and Hermione would be in there again, but after making sure that either Fitch nor the prefects were around, he opened the door and heard their voices coming from a locked cubicle. "It's me," he said, closing the door behind him. And there was a clunk, a splash, and a gasp from within the cubicle, and saw Hermione's eyes peering through the keyhole. "Harry," she said, "you gave such a fright. Come in, how's your arm?" "Fine," said Harry, squeezing into the cubicle. An old cauldron was perched on the top toilet, and a crackling from under the rim told Harry they had lit a fire beneath it. Conjuring portable, waterproof, and fires were a speciality of Hermione's. "We've come to meet you, but we decided to get started with the Polyjuice potion." As Harry with difficulty locked the cubicle again. "We decided this is the safest place to hide it." Harry started to tell him about Colin, but Hermione interrupted. "We already know. We heard Professor McGonagall tell Professor Flitwick this morning. That's why we decided we'd better get going. The sooner we got a confession out of Malfoy, the better," snarled Ron. "Do you know what I think? He's in such a full temper after the Quidditch match. He took it out on Colin." There's something else, said Harry, watching Hermione tearing bundles of knot grass and throwing them in to the potion. Dobby came to visit me in the middle of the night. Ron and Hermione looked up amazed. Harry told them everything Dobby had told him or hadn't told him. Ron and Hermione listened with their mouths open. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened before, said Hermione. This settles it, said Ron. Lucius Malfoy must have opened the chamber when he was at school here, and now he saw dear old Draco how to do it. It's obvious. Wish Dobby told you what kind of monsters in there, though. I want to know how come nobody's noticed it sneaking around the school. Maybe it can make itself invisible, said Hermione, prodding leeches to the bottom of prodding leech to the bottom of the cauldron, or maybe it can disguise itself. Pretend to be a suit of armor or something. I've read about chameleon girls. You read too much, Hermione, said Ron, pouring dead lace rings on top of the leeches. He crumpled up the empty lace ring bag and looked around at Harry. So Dobby stopped getting us on the train and broke your arm. He shook his head. You know what, Harry? If he doesn't stop trying to save your life, he's going to kill you. The news that Colin Creevey had been attacked was now lying as though dead in the hospital wing had suddenly spread through the entire school by Monday morning. The air was suddenly thick with rumour and suspicion. The first years were now moving around the castle in tight-knit groups, as though scared that they would be attacked if they ventured forth alone. Ginny Weasley, who sat next to Colin Creevey and Charles, was distraught, but Harry felt that Fred and George were going the wrong way about cheering her up. They were taking it in turns to cover themselves with furs or boils and jumping out at her. They only stopped when Percy, apoplectic with rage, told them he was going to write to Mrs. Weasley and tell her Ginny was having nightmares. Meanwhile, hidden from the teachers, a roaring trade of talismans, amulets, and other protective devices were sweeping around the school. Neville Longbottom bought a purple crystal, a large evil-smelling green onion, a pointed purple crystal, and a rotten tail before the other Gryffindor boys pointed out that he was in no danger. He was a pureblood and therefore unlikely to be attacked. They went for Filch first, Neville said, his round face faithful, and everyone knows I'm almost a squid. In the second week of December, Professor McGonagall came around as usual, collecting names of those who would be staying at school for Christmas. Harry, Ron and Hermione signed her list. They had heard that Malfoy was staying, which struck them as very suspicious. The holidays would be the perfect time to use the polyjuice potion and try to worm a confession out of him. Unfortunately, the potion was only half finished. They still needed going to get them from Snape's private store. Harry privately felt he'd rather face Slytherin's legendary monster than have Snape catch him robbing his office. What we need, said Hermione briskly, is a Thursday afternoon double potion loomed nearer. It is a diversion. Then one of us can sneak into Snape's office and take what we need. I think I'd better do the actual stealing, said Hermione. Hermione continued, in a matter-of-fact tone. You two will be expelled if you get into too much. If you two will get into any more trouble, and I've got a clean record. So, all you need to do is cause enough mayhem to keep Snape busy for 5 minutes or so. Harry smiled feebly. Deliberately causing mayhem in Snape's office, in Snape's potion class, was about as safe as poking a sleeping dragon in the eye. Potions lessons took place in one of the large dungeons. Potions lesson took place in one of the large dungeons. Thursday afternoon lesson proceeded in the usual way. 20 cauldrons stood steaming between the wooden desks, on which frost scales and jars of ingredients. Snape plowed through the fumes, making waspish remarks about the Gryffindor's work, while the Slytherin sniggered appreciatively. Draco Malfoy, who was Snape's favourite student, kept flicking pufferfish eyes at Ron and Harry, who knew that if they retaliated, they would get detention faster than you could say unfair. Harry's swelling solution was far too runny, but he had his mind on more things. He was waiting for Hermione's signal, and he hardly listened as Snape poured a sneer at his watery potion. When Snape turned and walked off to bully Neville. Hermione caught Harry's eye and nodded. Harry ducked swiftly down behind his cauldron, pulled one of Fred's filibuster fireworks out of his pocket and gave it a quick prod with its wand. The firework began to fizz and sputter. Knowing he only had seconds, Harry straightened up, took aim and slowed into the air. It landed right on target in Goyle's cauldron. Showering the whole class. People shrieked as splashes of the swelling solution hit him. Malfoy got a faceful and his nose began to swirl like a balloon. Goyle blundered around, his hands over his eyes, which had expanded to the size of dinner plates. While Snape was trying to restore calm and find out what had happened. Though the confusion, Harry saw Hermione slip quietly out of the door. "Silence!" Snape roared. "Anyone who has been splashed, come here for a deflating strut. When I find out who did this." Harry tried not to walk as he watched. Malfoy hurry forward, his head drooping with the weight of a nose like a small melon. As half the class lumbered up to Snape's desk, some weighed down with arms like clubs, others unable to talk through giant puffed lips. Harry saw Hermione slid back into the dungeon, the front of her robes bulging. While everyone had taken a swig of antidote and the various swellings had subsided, Snape twisted over to Goyle's cauldron and scooped out the twisted black remains of the firework. There was a sudden hush. "If I ever find out who threw this," Snape whispered, "I shall make sure that person has been expelled." There was a sudden hush. "If I ever find out who threw this," Snape whispered, "I shall make sure that person is expelled." Harry arranged his face into what he hoped was a puzzled expression. Snape was looking right at him, and the bell, which rang 10 minutes later, could not have been more welcome. "He knew it was me," Harry told Ron and Hermione as they hurried back to Finding Myrtle's bathroom. "I could tell." Hermione threw the new ingredients into the cauldron and began to stir feverishly. "It will be ready in a fortnight," she said happily. "Snape can't prove it was you," said one. Reassuringly to Harry. "What can he do?" "Knowing Snape, something fall," said Harry as a potion frothed and bubbled. A week later, Harry, Ron and Hermione were walking across the entrance hall when they saw a small knot of people gathered around the notice board, reading a piece of parchment that had been pinned up. Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas beckoned them over, looking excited. "They're starting a dueling club," said Seamus. "Fighting first meeting tonight. I wouldn't mind dueling lessons. That might come in handy one of these days." "What do you reckon Slytherin's monster can duel?" said one. But his head read the sign with interest. "Could be useful," he said to Harry and Ron as they went into dinner. "Shall we go?" Harry and Hermione were all for it, so at 8 o'clock that evening they hurried back into the Grey Hall. The long dining table had vanished, and a long stage had appeared along one wall, lit by thousands of candles floating overhead. The ceiling was velvety black once more, and most of the school seemed to be packed beneath it, all carrying their wands and looking excited. "I wonder who will be teaching us today," said Hermione. "I wonder who will be teaching us," said Hermione as they edged into the chattering crowd. "Someone told me Flitwick was a dueling champion when he was young. Maybe it'll be him. As long as it's not," Harry began. But he ended on a groan. "No." Gilderoy Lockhart was walking onto the stage, resplendent in robes of deep plum and accompanied by none other than Snape, wearing his usual black. Lockhart waved an arm for silence and called, "Gather round, gather round. Can everyone see me? Can you all hear me? Excellent." Now, Professor Dumbledore had granted me permission to start this little dueling club to train you all up in case you ever need to defend yourselves, as I myself have done on countless occasions. For full details, see my published works. Let me introduce my assistant, Professor Snape," said Lockhart, flashing a wide smile. "He tells me he knows a tiny little bit about dueling himself," and sportingly agreed with a short demonstration before we began. "Now, I don't want any of you youngsters to worry. You'll still have your potions master when I'm through with him. Never fear." "Wouldn't it be good if they finished each other off?" one muttered in Harry's ear. Snape's upper lip was curling. Harry wondered why Lockhart was still smiling. If Snape had been looking at him like that, he'd have been running as fast as he could in the opposite direction. Lockhart. And that's all for today. Bye.